Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. Are we witnessing a major collapse that has been orchestrated by the powers that be, the people in control that want to control you and your money? This from Val Jester Locke here. Hacks and crypto exchanges collapsing is a ploy by the hive-minded world. Do not let anyone with a checkmark next to their name fool you. This was always the plan. If you have been with me for a while, you should not be surprised in the slightest. It's sad, but you should be surprised. He goes on to say, how else would each part of this collapse picture be filled? By intentional means. I always told you regulations and collapse is connected. The orchestrated fall, guys, the controlled demolition, this has been a major theme with regards to Riddlers. I mean, the timeline was always kind of the question, and I'm sure a lot of it, whether intentional or not, has been coinciding with the global beer flu situation that we're currently in, some countries more than others. But it should not surprise you, according to Val Jester Locke. I also saw this from Digital Asset Buy. I believe their final move is to collapse Tether. So we've been talking a little bit about Tether on this channel, a stablecoin that has had a bit of a questionable past. A few years ago, I did a video on Tether specifically, and I'll see if I can find that video. I'll link it up here in the top right-hand corner. But here's what Digital Asset Buy is saying, because if they actually affect the stablecoins, this would be the perfect catalyst for stablecoin regulation, specifically in the United States. He goes on to say, then Wall Street opens their doors because, as he quotes here, you can trust us. We're not those crypto startup guys, unquote. With all the support of their buddies at the SEC, CFTC, and Congress. Even Coinbase is coming out and revealing where institutional investors expect crypto prices to be in 1 year. Now, this is a brand new survey, and I'm sure they took this data post the FTX collapse, so crypto exchange giant Coinbase is releasing the results of a new survey commissioned to find out how blue chip investors feel about the future of the crypto industry. The 2022 Institutional Investor Digital Asset Outlook Survey queried 140 US-based institutional investors with a combined $2.6 trillion of assets under management on what their outlook was for the digital asset market. Overall sentiment towards digital asset has remained positive, with 72% supporting the view that digital assets were here to stay, 86% among those currently invested in crypto, and 64% among those planning to invest. So the good news, guys, is that the outlook is still positive for institutions. They still want to invest in crypto. Obviously, this controlled demolition is a good opportunity for them to invest in crypto. I mean, albeit XRP right now is up a little bit, up 20% since yesterday, at least at the time of this recording. But, if I bring up the total market cap here, let me throw that on the daily for you guys. Total crypto market cap, we are obviously seeing a depressed market. Since its high last year in November of 2021, the market is down 73%. And, that's not to say that this is the bottom either. It could go even lower. These institutional investors don't mess around. They want to get in at a discount. So is it an orchestrated ploy to enable them to do that? Although the long-term sentiment remains positive, the results also show that the turmoil in the industry diminished investors' optimism that digital assets will bring them high returns in the coming months. More than half of the survey participants do not expect crypto to see a significant price movement in the next 12 months. So here are some of the results from the survey. A quote here, the crypto winter has dampened short-term expectations for price appreciation. When asked about their outlook on prices, 54% of investors stated that they expect crypto prices to be range-bound, while 29% expect it to trend lower in the next 12 months. So only 7.9% say that it will trend higher. 29.3% will say that says that it will trend lower, and 53.6% says we're basically going to chop sideways for the next year. 9.3% say they don't know, or they have no opinion on that. So what does that mean? The most unexciting time in crypto is when we see this kind of a thing, and if that happens for another year before we start moving upward, I guess it'll be like 2019 all over again, when we were down in the dumps, and we did see a bit of a pop. We came back down by November of 2019. We were actually forming a higher low. We were on our way back up, and then the beer flu hit, and sure enough, this Black Swan event just brought us back down. So basically a year of, for all intents and purposes, chopping sideways, not really in a traditional way, but that's what these institutional investors, or the majority of them at least, are saying could happen. Now, Gold Telegraph here coming out with this. We have silver heading for its biggest deficit in decades, and central banks globally are buying gold at record speed, which is seeing it head east. So let's not forget about that, right? Central banks in Russia and China buying up large quantities of gold. Now the Federal Reserve is indicating slower rate hikes as liquidity is drying up. Connect the dots. Obviously, guys, if liquidity dries up, we're going to need a mechanism to provide more liquidity to the system. It could be a forced implementation of DLT technology, something like RippleNet utilizing XRP in order to get us out of this mess. So there's that aspect of it too, right, that I haven't really touched on too much. It could be that emergency, we need something now to get us out of this liquidity crisis and, okay, let's push XRP through quickly. Although I don't know if it will all necessarily happen in that way exactly. I think the lawsuit and the timeline for the lawsuit is it has been very, very coordinated since day one. And if you want to get some of my thoughts on that, I will link a recent video I did about that up here in the top right-hand corner. I mean, we do know that there is a liquidity crisis. We do know that there is a solution for that liquidity crisis. We're also seeing banks, this one particularly from the UK. UK banks, this is worrying. Following the collapse of crypto exchange FTX, UK banks have decided you can only spend your money on crypto if they allow you to. Complete control of how you spend your money, a chilling glimpse of a CBDC future. So this is from a UK bank. The building society said customers would now have a daily limit imposed on their account, dictating how much of their money they could hand over to cryptocurrency providers. Nationwide's move follows similar measures brought on by rivals Santander, TSB, Virgin Money, and Starling Bank. Digital bank Starling told customers on Tuesday that it was preventing all card payments to crypto exchanges and was restricting any outgoing and incoming bank transfers involving such businesses. So, again, like this Twitter user points out here, it's from Bernie Spofford here, a chilling glimpse of how our governments can in fact control us with a CBDC, if they're already starting to do it with crypto exchanges. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but recently, in and around the FTX collapse, it was certainly that week, I got papers from my crypto exchange saying, here, we have to do this paperwork. We have to make sure that you are accredited. We have to make sure that your financials are good enough. And then we'll put you in a category for trading cryptocurrency. Again, I don't know, guys, but the timing was very, very coincidental. If you guys have a similar story, please do share it down in the comments section, or you can tag me on Twitter at WorkingMoneyCH. And notice this is also happening as well from DJ Peter Vass here. Fed advisor recommends adopting stablecoins as a shortcut to a CBDC. So a bit of a bright light on this. I mean, CBDCs can be a complete control mechanism for government. But here's what the Fed advisor has recommended. Speaking at the Gilmore Center Policy Forum, which was at the Warwick Business School in London on Tuesday, Antoine Martin, a financial stability advisor at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, suggested that instead of issuing a retail CBDC, central banks could support stablecoins by allowing them to be back-end one-for-one with balances in a central bank account. So a very good option. I mean, there are already so many different types of stablecoins that could facilitate this. You would obviously have to regulate them first, which is kind of where government is moving. They want to have that stablecoin regulation in first before moving on to the bigger crypto issues. Martin is proposing this private sector stablecoin will be utilized by the central bank in lieu of government-developed CBDCs, an approach that more closely aligns with the economic model of capitalism. A novel concept. The Fed advisor went on to suggest that stablecoins are a better payment option than volatile cryptocurrencies as they have a one-to-one backing by fiat currencies. And here's a quote, "Stablecoins are a much better payment instrument than Bitcoin and stabilize their value by being backed by assets denominated in a fiat currency. They commonly depend on commercial bank money to hold the reserve assets that back their coin representations, and this is typically the US dollar." But of course, governments are not going to do this unless there is that regulation first. It could be a shortcut, it could be a great pathway, but I think central bankers have something else in mind. I don't know about in the United States, certainly in other countries around the world, one specifically that have been captured by the WEF agenda. They want complete control. Just look at what's happening in China, and I think that gives you a glimpse, a dystopic glimpse into the future, or into a potential future of where certain Western countries are going. Anyway, I thought that this was a little bit of a silver lining. Wanted to thank DJ Peter Vass for pointing that out. And so, we're getting more news about the FTX saga. More articles are also coming out from sympathetic news outlets. This from Stéphane Hubert. From compromising integrity, faulty regulatory oversight, control in the hands of a very small group of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and compromised individuals, this situation is unprecedented. I have never seen anything like it. This is worse than Enron. That was a quote, by the way. Meanwhile, this is what the media is putting out, and Stéphane Hubert has collected a bunch of headlines from SBF sympathizing news outlets inside Sam Bankman-Fried's quest to win friends and influence people. Sounds positive. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried attempts to raise fresh cash despite bankruptcy. Sam Bankman-Fried becomes an ESG truth teller. I can't believe this. Sam Bankman-Fried's plan to save the world went down in flames. Here's an apology letter from Sam Bankman-Fried sent to FTX employees. When crappy things happen to us, we all tend to make irrational decisions. So, painting him as a bit of a victim here, which is a complete 180 to what he actually is. How Caroline Ellison found herself at the center of the FTX crypto collapse. Oh, poor Caroline. New York Times runs bizarre softball article on FTX's Sam Bankman-Fried. Yeah, this is exactly what we need to be pointing out here. And I think a lot in the crypto community, a lot of the big players, they are not giving Sam Bankman-Fried any leeway. It's these news articles trying to spin the story in order to shape the narrative. Let's keep going here. And then the interview speaking at that event that's coming up on November 30th include Sam Bankman-Fried, and he did put out a tweet on Twitter saying that he is going to be speaking there. I still don't know if that is actually going to happen or not. Certainly things that make you go, I really can't get over it. This one in particular from the Wall Street Journal. When Sam Bankman-Fried's crypto empire went down in flames, so did his plans to save the world. How can you, with any good faith, Wall Street Journal, post this kind of crap? Elon Musk here saying Wall Street Journal giving foot massages to a criminal. Michael Saylor even commenting on this. Sam counterfeited billions in tokens via securities fraud, inflated that by billions more via accounting fraud, seized billions from customers via banking fraud, corrupted the establishment with the dirty money, then panic sold billions in stolen Bitcoin to crash the market. So more is coming out, but I think more and more the good news, the crypto community is not buying it one bit, especially, since we talk, we share information, we see the ins and outs, we understand how cryptocurrency is going to change the world, we understand that bankers want control, we understand that this could have been a red herring or a red flag. I don't know if I can use both of those terms in this kind of situation. Basically, though, was the government in on it? And so speaking of government, Real XRP Boy here, posting this, sometimes this whole thing feels like a psyop, can't be this blatant. This is Pat LaVecchia, okay? He's the CEO of Oasis Pro Markets. Here's what he had to say about the SEC with the Ripple case in particular, but he also mentions a few other things. Listen to this.
Believer that regulation was required in this space. The current approach with regulation by enforcement has been choppy. It started with an action against Ripple before Chairman Gensler came in. That's a big entity, right? Ripple is very prevalent, and that's ongoing because of lawsuits, et cetera. That's going through its paces right now. But most recently, it's been really small companies that have been paying fines or shut down by the regulators rather than the big players, and that is that's been concerning because Chairman Gensler came out over the last 2 years and has stated on more than one occasion, has also written op-eds regarding the fact that he needed legislation in order to go after the crypto market because of the uncertainty. But I firmly believe that, unfortunately, the legislation won't catch up for a couple of more years, at least here in the U.S. MiCA is coming through in Europe at the end of Q1, so they will have some types of regulations in place in the EU. But here in the U.S., we're going to be further behind there. So, we expect more regulation by enforcement. But what really would help the industry, and we can talk more about this, what really will help the industry is if they're going down that path, you really have to work. You really have to cite the large players. Now, I'm not beating the drum that all the large players need to be regulated necessarily in the token world, but that'll send a message and move more toward regulation. Whereas to date, it's been a bit fuzzy.
So bringing up some very good points. The Ripple case kind of highlighted this need for regulation. When the SEC decided to sue Ripple, there have also been small players that the SEC has decided to sue. And so I think that could have been strategic. The bigger thing, though, the MiCA rules in Europe already underway. This is still, Pat LaVecchia is questioning, what does this mean for the United States? Well, we're still kind of behind on that. So unfortunately, we are going to still see regulation by enforcement in the United States until we get some kind of clarity. And James K. Filan posting this, okay, for your reading pleasure from Senator Warren, Elizabeth Warren, a U.S. Senator from Massachusetts. Okay, this is an opinion piece. Regulate crypto or it'll take down the economy. So not going to go into this piece in depth, but I will link it in the description of the video for you. She talks about the FTX collapse, talks about how, But basically an overview of the crypto market. Talks down here a little bit about terrorists, drug dealers, ransomware, criminals. So, I mean, highlighting a lot of the negative, but again, hitting that same point home. Regulation is necessary. Look at this FTX thing. Here's a big reason why we need the regulation. But of course, coming at a very, very convenient time. And so, guys, look at the photo that was used by the Wall Street Journal to publish this image. An interesting choice. Now, it's a very famous painting, the Scream. And guess who else posted this tweet with an image of the Scream back in 2018? Bearableguy decided it was appropriate to post this next to a spring. Now, guys, in a 2022 context, to me, it looks like this has more meaning than it did back in 2018. Here's an image, too, of just the physical newspaper with that same Scream image. Regulate crypto or it will take down the industry. And Bearableguy has always said, there needs to be that big event, the catalyst, before Ripple and XRP implementation goes through. And so, taking a look at this spring here, does that mean cryptocurrency is going to spring back up to life? I mean, certainly we have already seen XRP rally, of course, based on some other reasons that I highlighted in this morning's video, which I'll link up here if you guys didn't catch. But it really does play back to this whole theory that the crypto regulation does need to be in place. We are going to see doom and gloom, guys. Bearableguy was pointing it out back in 2018, not to mention Mr. Poole pointing out a similar theme here. What now? This was from July 2022. And guess what Michael Saylor just posted recently? A security is an investment of money in a common enterprise with the expectation of profit to be derived from the efforts of others. So what is Ethereum? And guys, I have the tweet up here, just an article stating the same. Fred Rispoli down here responding, Hodl Law is suing the SEC to have this very question answered once and for all. But Michael Saylor here also asking, does the status of Ethereum come into question, considering it was an investment of money in a common enterprise with the expectation of profits? So although we did have the Hinman speech, we still haven't seen those Hinman emails, by the way, but we did have the Hinman speech. He basically did give Ethereum a free pass. But is that all going to come into question now with this regulatory scrutiny that is coming down the pipe? Bearableguy was forecasting this from the beginning. The market needs to be regulated, and we are going to see dramatic regulation before we see XRP Moon. So is it any coincidence that the Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX fiasco is coinciding with this pivotal moment in crypto that Bearableguy was mentioning all those years ago, and that Mr. Poole even pointed out in July with regards to Ethereum? So guys, I got one question. What now? Tell me down in the comments what you guys think, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.